Look closely at this dust, carried by the strong, relentless Arizona wind. This isn't just sand. It's the rich, heavy sediment of 1,000 evaporated dreams and a solemn testament to the brutal, unforgiving speed of the American economy. In these rugged, silent hills, a small town called Haynes was born in the early 1940s, a place where hundreds of hard-working people arrived, betting everything they had on the promise of a thick, profitable vein of gold. They didn't just extract metal. They believed deeply in the American promise here, building permanent homes, establishing a functioning school, and forging a future they intended to keep. They purchased the symbols of the post-war boom: new refrigerators, gleaming family sedans, and the latest mid-century modern furniture, all brought in across the vast, lonely desert landscape. The air here in the years of the boom was thick with optimism, the scent of fresh-cut lumber and the distant rhythmic clang of the mine machinery running 24 hours a day. The town was alive with the possibility that defined the American West, the idea that sheer effort and courage could lead to an enduring prosperity. The local bank, long since boarded up, once held the entire collective savings of these hopeful families. Every small business, from the local barber shop to the single-town doctor's office, thrived on the shared pursuit of that buried wealth. But what happens to hope when the underlying promise suddenly dries up? What happens to a community when everyone is forced to pack their bags, leaving behind only the deep, painful echoes of their final day? This town didn't burn down. It suffered no devastating natural disaster or catastrophic accident. It simply, tragically, went silent. Today, for the very first time, we walk the dusty, crumbling streets of Haynes, Arizona, a town entirely frozen in time just as its residents left it in the summer of 1953. Before we fully immerse ourselves in this extraordinary and humbling time capsule, if the forgotten, documented history of America moves you and sparks a memory of your own, please take a moment now to hit that like button and immediately subscribe to Shadows of America. Your dedicated support is absolutely vital, ensuring we can continue our mission to document and preserve these invaluable, lost stories for future generations. To truly understand the profound quiet that blankets this place, we must first recall the vibrant noise that defined its existence. Haynes was founded around the Gold King mine, but the real, sustained boom, the era of its greatest prosperity, hit forcefully during and immediately following World War II, a time when the entire United States economy was desperately hungry for raw materials like copper and gold. By the late 1940s, this remote pocket of Arizona was a bustling, high-stakes economic engine, a stark contrast to the barren landscape surrounding it. The local miner was often the highest-paid laborer in the region, earning just enough to afford the material comforts that symbolized the victorious post-war life. We are walking past the ruins of the main commissary, the central supply point where miners purchased their daily needs and the small luxuries of the era. If you look closely at the heavily faded advertisement still barely clinging to the splintered wood walls, you can clearly see the iconic brands that defined the daily life of the 1950s generation. The familiar logos for Coca-Cola, the distinctive packaging of Lucky Strike cigarettes, and the promise of a perfect morning from Maxwell House coffee. These visual remnants are much more than mere trash. They are the vibrant, preserved iconography of mid-century Americana. The story of Haynes extends far beyond simple excavation and commerce. It was fundamentally a story of community, of shared hardship and shared triumphs. This small one-room structure was the Haynes Elementary School, serving children all the way up to the 8th grade. Imagine the bustling sounds of children reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, the scraping of chairs during recess, and the laughter that once echoed here. The school bell is long gone, likely salvaged, but the faint, ghostly outlines of desks etched into the wooden floor tell a detailed story of structure and the persistent hope for a better future through education. We found an old, tattered textbook, American History Volume 2, still open to a chapter on President Eisenhower. This book, printed in 1951, provides a perfect timestamp for the kind of post-war optimism and conformity that defined the era just before the town's collapse. The post office, a modest single-window building across the dusty street, functioned as the town's most important social hub. Everyone gathered here, waiting anxiously for news from the outside world. Letters from relatives who had already moved to the big cities, or magazines containing the latest fashions and recipes from the East Coast. The sheer amount of human connection that passed through this small window is staggering to contemplate. Now we are stepping across the threshold of the mine manager's house, likely the most structurally sound and best preserved building left standing in Haynes, a symbol of the clear hierarchy of the time. The contrast between the manager's relatively comfortable life and the harsh, dangerous existence of the average miner is immediately palpable in the furnishings. We discovered this on the manager's large, dusty mahogany desk, a heavy, leather-bound ledger still resting beside a bakelite telephone. This isn't speculation, this is hard evidence. The final chilling entry is dated June 1953. This ledger meticulously documents the last payroll processed, the final time money officially exchanged hands here in Haynes. It stands as the formal official record of the town's abrupt economic death. The detail is astonishing, listing the full names of the workers, the exact number of hours worked, and the precise values of their final paychecks, money that many of these families desperately needed to fund their sudden, unexpected departure. We can almost hear the difficult final conversation that took place in this very room. The official pronouncement that shattered the town's foundation. The abruptness of the collapse is evident everywhere. In early 1953, the global price of gold and copper plummeted below profitable levels, and the directors of the Gold King mine issued a unilateral order: cease operations immediately. There was no gentle winding down, no formal farewell celebration, no time to plan a slow transition. There was no big dramatic fire, no catastrophic flash flood, no natural disaster, just a cold calculation on a balance sheet that wiped an entire functioning community off the map with the stroke of a pen. People were forced to leave immediately to find work elsewhere, often with only the possessions they could quickly stuff into their suitcases or the back seats of their cars. They took their most valuable items, their cherished family photographs and their essential clothes, but they left behind the poignant relics of their daily, ordinary existence. You can see the hurry in these abandoned objects: a pair of worn work boots left hastily by the kitchen door, an old paper calendar still tacked to the wall, permanently marking the day the checks stopped, and even a heavy, cumbersome transistor radio tuned to a long-dead station that once played the popular swinging tunes of the 1950s. For the dedicated viewers who follow Shadows of America, this specific era is not abstract history. It is often a deeply felt, living memory. These artifacts, these pieces of forgotten furniture, these old product labels, these remnants of a technological past, are a direct, tangible connection to your childhoods and the world your parents and grandparents strive to build. The powerful Arizona desert has acted as a meticulous, if harsh, slow-motion preservation chamber. 50 years of brutal sun have bleached the exterior wood and cracked the interior paint. But the dry, arid elements have been surprisingly kind, preventing the rot and decay that would have utterly destroyed a town in the humid east. This unique environment has kept this painful chapter of American life virtually intact for us to fully document today. Inside the abandoned general store, for example, we found crates of canned goods with colorful, detailed labels dating back to 1952, still sitting on dusty shelves. Alongside them was a perfectly preserved cardboard advertising poster featuring a smiling, impeccably dressed 1950s family promoting a brand new line of frozen TV dinners, the absolute height of culinary modernity and convenience at the time. The rapid, simple architecture, built quickly for the mining boom, paradoxically shows the rugged, enduring, and hopeful spirit of the American West. These structures stand today as silent, lonely monuments to the resilient generation that constructed them, reminding us all of the transient nature of prosperity and the fleeting promise of the boom. As we finally turn and leave the silent streets of Haynes, we are not just closing a heavy, rusted door. We are consciously closing a profound, important chapter on the history of the American West. This town is a silent, standing reminder that the richest parts of history aren't always found in academic textbooks. They are found in the abandoned ledgers on a manager's desk, in the toys left on a child's bedroom floor, and in the specific evocative dust of the 1950s that covers every surface we've touched today. The remaining structures stand as powerful, quiet monuments to the diligent, hard-working generation that built them, and serve as a sober warning about the hopeful, yet ultimately fragile nature of the American dream. We at Shadows of America believe with great conviction that preserving and sharing these documented, genuine stories is absolutely vital to understanding the roots of our modern society and exactly where we came from. We dedicate our time, technical expertise, and resources to documenting these lost places with the deep respect and focused attention to historical detail they truly deserve, making sure the real, human history is told, one forgotten decade at a time. Your continued loyal participation is precisely what makes this comprehensive documentation possible. We want to hear directly from you. Comment below and share your own personal memories of the 1950s and 1960s. Did you or a family member grow up in a small remote town like Haynes? We read every single comment, and your vivid memories often become the essential inspiration for our very next exploration. Share this entire video widely with your friends, family, and anyone else who appreciates authentic American history, genuine documentation, and the deep feeling of nostalgia. Hit the like button if this journey through time to 1953 profoundly moved you. And finally, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Shadows of America channel and immediately turn on your notifications so you won't miss the next powerful journey into one of America's lost and greatest places. Join our unique community and help us keep the light of memory on these historical shadows.